Welcome to the JJ Virgin Lifestyle Show with celebrity nutrition expert, fitness Hall of Famer, and four-time New York Times bestselling author, JJ Virgin. JJ is a warrior mom whose knowledge and expertise have helped change hundreds of thousands of lives with over 3.5 million podcast downloads and appearances on Dr. Phil, Dr. Oz, The Today Show, Rachel Ray, Larry King Live.
Whoa. This show is about you, not about me. I want to help you find practical, real-world ways to dial in your health and mindset so you can finally lose that weight and feel strong and energized. Stop settling for less than your personal best. It's time to find out how to look and feel better than ever. And I'll be right here with you the whole way. Hey, JJ here, talking about one of my favorite topics. Yes, we're talking about the gut microbiome today. And I have a return guest, Dr. Raphael Kellman, who was on, when his book, The Microbiome Diet, came out. I had to find him when I saw this book, The Microbiome Diet. I'm like, oh my gosh. So he is out now with another awesome best-selling book, The Whole Brain. And people are going wild over it, and I'm sure you will too when you grab it. By the way, if you've not listened to my podcast with him on the microbiome diet, we will be linking to that in the show notes. You can get all the cool stuff we're going to be talking about at jjvirgin.com/Dr. Dr. Kellman, Kellman. Let me tell you a little bit about Dr. Kellman. So Dr. Raphael Kellman is the founder of microbiome medicine. I mean, he is fanatic about microbiome, so you can tell why I like him so much. He speaks about this all over the world, and he kind of uncovered all this stuff when he was taking the high-level view of what to do about GI issues and chronic fatigue and autoimmune and Lyme and autism, all the things that are typically so difficult to treat. And one of the things I'm excited about today is we're going to be talking about the microbiome and how it relates to weight loss and also brain fog, cravings, metabolism, all the things we like to talk about here on this show. Plus, we're going to talk about some of the best foods that you can eat to feed your microbiome, as well as gifting you out some yummy recipes that you can start making right away to make your microbiome better. All right, Dr. Raphael Kellman, welcome to the show. I'm so glad you're here with me today.
Oh, JJ, it's so nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, you've written about a super cool subject that my audience is enthralled with. We love talking microbiome, so I am super excited to be talking to you about it. And let's kind of, before we dive into it, I want to know how you got interested in this in the first place.
Good question. You see, I was always interested in having a big view, to look from a high point, to see a big picture. Like I love living in the high buildings, the high floor, because you get a big view and you can see the big picture. So I always had that perspective when it comes to nature. And it's related to how you understand the human body, because it's all one. I mean, we're part of nature as well. So the more you understand nature, the more we understand ourselves. I did not learn this in medical school, but I just had a little bit of common sense. There was some common sense that remained in me after I finished medical school and residency, believe it or not. And then, so if you see very easily, if you understand the natural world and nature, that you begin to see the power of bacteria. If it wasn't for bacteria on Earth, there would be nothing on Earth but rocks. There would be no plants. There would be no fruits. There would be no fish. There would be no reptiles. There would be no zebras or monkeys or any of our listeners and me and you. There would be nothing, because bacteria are responsible for the carbon cycle and nitrogen. If we wouldn't have carbon and nitrogen on Earth, there would be no organic life. That's bacteria. Without bacteria, we would have no rain. So once you know that bacteria play such a fundamental role in the development and evolution of life, then you're going to realize, wait a minute, it must be doing the same thing within us, within our bodies. One amazing fact I want to tell everyone. On Earth, the bacteria on Earth are greater in mass than all the fish in the sea and the animals on Earth. And yet we can't even see it. And they're all working together as one whole organism. The bacteria in Uganda are working in the same direction with the same effort, with the same goal as bacteria in London. It's unbelievable. So the same thing is happening within us. So I knew, and we all knew, that the bacteria is within us, but I always knew that it must be at staggering numbers. And sure enough, in about 2007, the research was coming out that there are so many bacteria in our gut, they actually outnumber our own cells 10-1. And I just loved it. I just ate it up. And I knew that here it is. Finally, we're seeing that this unbelievable wonder that's in nature is also within us. And these bacteria are the good guys, the greatest ally. And without them, we would not be able to live.
Well, and plus, I started looking at them years ago because I started to find out that they could matter in weight loss. And, weight loss has always been my area of expertise and fascination. And so I'm super excited to talk to you about that piece of it, since you're really like one of the most groundbreaking people working in microbiome, which you call microbiome medicine. So you even coined the term. So let's dig into the microbiome and what it can do to either help us lose weight or stop us from losing weight.
Right. Number one, we'll have to realize that this is our great ally. We're not fighting a war to lose weight. We're not fighting forces that are constantly trying to push us to eat and to eat the wrong foods. We finally have found an ally within us that is so powerful that is going to help us overcome the cravings and is going to help us improve our metabolism. And if we could only bolster the microbiome, then we could break through this plateau. We could really get through this point that we feel we just can't get beyond. And that will mean that our metabolism will improve. Literally, I mean, this is what the research is showing. It's the power of the bacteria. The same power of bacteria that we see in nature is also within us. If we can unleash it, improve it, which we can do, as I describe in the whole brain on about the microbiome and bacteria, then it becomes our greatest ally in helping us to lose weight and to improve, literally boost our metabolism, and it will help us to overcome the cravings that we're constantly struggling with.
Well, these are like the biggest things people talk about. They feel like they have a sluggish metabolism. They just can't lose weight. They've got cravings. How do you know if it's your microbiome and that you need to work on it?
I can tell you, JJ, it's always your microbiome.
It's your microbiome. Okay, everybody listening, it's your microbiome.
Very good. JJ, we could see the unseen world, and we could. No one would disagree with what I'm saying. There is nothing more important than taking care of our greatest ally, the bacteria, because it could perform miracles for us. If we would only be able to see it, we would see it. That's it. That is the key to helping us to heal, to really live our true biological potential. And our true biological potential is not being overweight, and not being sluggish, and not feeling constantly that there's something wrong with our hormones and our metabolism is slow. That's not our true biological potential. But when you tap into the power of the microbiome, and it could help it unleash its power, we will reach our biological potential.
Now, I know we're going to talk about some tips to do that. And you have the microbiome diet, which was one of your big books. And now you've got the whole brain. But before we talk about what to do, let's go over to this shift into, you wrote the book, The Whole Brain. And in that book, you talk about brain fog, which is another thing that I get complaints about all the time, is brain fog. So what about that? How does that relate to your gut microbiome?
Sure. Look, the microbiome, bacteria are interconnected with every part of us. It's like a matrix. and it's interwoven with every part of who we are within us. And it has a profound connection to the brain. In fact, it's very similar to the brain. Bacteria, our neurons, the brain produce neurotransmitters, right? Like serotonin and dopamine. And serotonin people refer to as the happy molecule and a neurotransmitter. And dopamine is the neurotransmitter, the brain chemical that gives you drive and desire and punch and it gives you that sense of empowerment and will. What's amazing is that bacteria in us, in the microbiome, are producing these same neurotransmitters. And in fact, they're producing more serotonin and dopamine than our brain is. So wait a minute, does that mean bacteria are like neurons? Yes, they are. They're like cousins, or they're so connected and they're so similar. So it's difficult to say that they're different. That's why I called it the whole brain. Really, the title should be The New Brain, because it's a new understanding of our brain. Our brain is not just what we find from our neck up, but it's in relationship as well to the bacteria in our gut. And the two in relationship, and they're so similar, produces the brain. Awareness and experiences and feelings and decisions and you name it comes from the interaction between what's going on in our brain, the central nervous system, and its interconnectedness and relationship with bacteria. That is the new brain. That's really a revolutionary new way of understanding the brain. And now that we know that is the powerful organ, the organ from which healing emerges and ensues. And healing is obviously everything, including metabolism and hormones and messages of healing and turning genes on and off, especially how this whole brain or this new brain is functioning. So you're going to have brain fog if this whole new brain is just not functioning well. So if the bacteria, which is a big part of the brain, of this new brain, is not functioning well because of our lifestyle, because of stress, because of the diets of the past that we still haven't been able to get out of the mess, or the overuse of antibiotics, not just from doctors, but from the foods, the poultry, or the proton pump inhibitors that so many people are on and they think it's harmless, and on and on and on. This bacteria, these bacteria, the microbiome, which is part of the new brain, is just not going to be functioning well. And therefore, we're going to feel it. We're going to feel it. We're going to feel the brain fog. We're going to feel like we're just not at our peak, that we're not thinking like we used to think, and we're sluggish mentally. And not only are we sluggish mentally, but our metabolism is sluggish too. And that's really frustrating.
All right, let's do something about it then. Now that you've painted this so well, what are some of the things? Now, obviously, everyone listening, you're going to want to get the whole brain. And I think you should get the whole brain and the microbiome diet. I'm betting when they go on Amazon, Amazon's telling them to get both of these books, because that was a genius book. When did that microbiome diet come out? I think we did a podcast on it. We did. Yeah. So you want both these books. And I know we also have some other cool special gifts we're going to be giving everyone listening. We'll put all of this in the show notes at jjvirgin.com/Dr. Kellman, Kellman. But let's give people listening something they can start with now, because now that you know that your gut microbiome is everything, we want to start taking really good care of them. So what do we do?
Okay. First of all, let's realize that they're our friends. Okay. So when we go out to dinner, realize you're taking your microbiome with you. And that in itself, believe it or not, makes a difference. Care about the incredible garden within us. That means to know what you need to do and what, in order to, in terms of lifestyle, in terms of what you're eating, what you're not eating, in order to keep the microbiome healthy. So number one is the types of foods that we're eating. So we all know now, JJ, the messages that you get out about the importance of cutting out the sugar, cutting out all the garbage, the flour and the grains, et cetera, but also to think about what kind of foods does our microbiome really appreciate, okay? So these are like the microbiome superfoods. And the body's going to start to enjoy them, like jicama, right? Jicama is a great food, and it even tastes sweet. It's
Jicama is a microbiome superfood.
absolutely
Awesome. I live in California, so jicama and guacamole is like, staple over here. That's
the bacteria are
fantastic.
going to love you if you give them some jicama. They love it. And it's going to make them proliferate and flourish. And the garden within you is going to be really green.
And see, everybody hearing this, like, okay, we're telling you now to go get some jicama and guacamole.
Yes.
Like, that's awesome.
That's right.
Right? No one's going to complain about
Absolutely.
that.
And some leeks, some leeks and some asparagus. And and also you could, just salads. A lot of vegetables and salads also are foods that the microbiome needs to flourish. The polyphenols, these are just critical compounds in foods that our microbiome flourishes on. For example, also plantain and different types of even fruits. For example, kiwi. The microbiome loves kiwi. So if you have a choice to choose either watermelon or something, some other sweet kind of a fruit, like or banana, you should choose kiwi because it just will improve your metabolism. Because when you improve your microbiome, it's one and the same as bolstering your metabolism. This is what's so amazing. We all want a better, more robust metabolism. How do you do it? The way you do it is by improving your microbiome. So when you eat jicama and you have, even radishes, take a radish, eat a radish. You're actually improving your metabolism as you eat that radish, as you eat jicama, as you eat kiwi, and many of the other foods that I describe in the two books, The Whole Brain and the Microbiome Diet. And then for fermented foods, whether it's kefir or kimchi, you don't need to eat a lot of these foods, but they profoundly improve the microbiome and they improve your metabolism and they help you lose weight.
Amen. We love that.
Amen. We love that. Now, what about some of the things besides sugar? You meant that a couple other ones we should definitely avoid.
Well, of course, processed foods. I mean, the microbiome just doesn't dig it. They just don't like processed foods. And anything that resembles a processed food, if it doesn't look like it's coming from nature, if you can't trace its footsteps back to nature, it's not a food you should be eating. It's because the microbiome, for one reason, the microbiome doesn't like it. And if the microbiome doesn't like a particular food, it means that and if we eat it, it's going to adversely affect our metabolism. And even if the amount of calories you're eating is the same, but if you're not, and you're following all the right rules of following the right diet that's best for you, it will make a difference if you eat the right types of microbiome foods, because that will also improve your metabolism. It will reduce inflammation. It will improve the whole insulin problem that's, most of our listeners are familiar with, that if the body spikes up too much insulin, then that's going to cause weight gain. Here's what's amazing. How do you really overcome the insulin and inflammation problem that we know is associated with weight gain? Once again, improve the microbiome. That's the best way to overcome insulin resistance. And there are certain nutrients and compounds. Like I love butyrate. Anyone who can get butyrate, go get it. Because butyrate, and you can get it actually, online. It's a compound made by bacteria as they digest fiber. And butyrate, this byproduct of the digestion of fiber by bacteria, has a profound anti-inflammatory effect. And it communicates to cells. It actually turns genes on and off. The genes that it turns on is weight loss and anti-inflammation. It's incredible the compounds that the microbiome make. And what's amazing is that by improving the microbiome is going to be making more of those compounds. And that's how your metabolism improves. That's how your brain functions better. And that's really what's going to make it easier for you to lose weight.
So I want to throw two out to you for you just to give your rant on for these two things.
That's easy.
So first one are antibiotics. Talk about antibiotics and what's actually going on there when you take them and when you should and when you shouldn't.
Antibiotics is a very sharp, double-edged sword. There's no doubt, obviously, that they can save lives. But the problem is that they're terribly overused. They're used when they shouldn't be used at all. And we're reaching a point today where we're getting very close to the way we were, the state that we were in before the development of antibiotics, where people were literally dying of infectious diseases. And what is this really telling us? It's telling us two things. One is that if we're going to come up with weapons against bacteria, and if we're going to think that's the only way we're going to improve our health, the bacteria are going to win. They're going to beat us. And in fact, they did win the war. The war we waged against bacteria, right, with antibiotics, guess what? Who won the war? They won the war. They have this incredible ability to outsmart all these incredible, great scientists over the years. They outsmarted all of them. And they do this because they can mutate. They can self-mutate. They can actually change their own DNA. I mean, this is just unbelievable that they are self-directed. They act in a concerted way, in a very integrated way, unified way, with an intention and a purpose. And they can actually self-mutate their DNA to change as if they have this awareness, like, let's make a change so that we can overcome these antibiotics. And they have this exquisite ability to share that information, to transfer that DNA to the bacteria at the other end of the world. And this debunks the whole way of understanding evolution, that it was all random, that just these random mutations happened, and the ones that were stronger survived, and the ones that were weaker didn't. Nuh-uh, that's the old stale way of looking at things. With the revolution of the research and the information about the microbiome, it's something that's so phenomenal that we're not yet appreciating, and that is that it debunks the old way of understanding evolution, that everything is just passive. Bacteria are running the show. They have this concerted will to let life evolve and develop. And they're not in favor of antibiotics because that is killing the sine qua non of life. So we must really keep the bacteria healthy. Antibiotics is not the way to go. It's only to be used in certain situations, in situations that we have no choice. But in the end, we need a different model. We have to understand how to use bacteria, how to use the microbiome and bacteria on Earth to improve our overall health. And that is the future. that we're going to use bacteria to overcome even infectious diseases. So bacteria is becoming our greatest ally.
So we'll work with them instead of right now, like
Exactly.
going to war. And the other one would be all of these, the purple pill, the proton pump inhibitors.
Yeah. That is worse for the microbiome than antibiotics themselves. And there's no research that I know that supports this, but I see this clinically that invariably when someone that I see who has a multitude of problems and metabolism and weight gain and difficulty losing weight or all kinds of gut issues and you name it, and brain issues too, that if you ask them, hey, will you ever put on a proton pump inhibitor like Protonix or Pepsid? And invariably they'll say, oh yeah, the doctor put me on that, a few years ago. And you're not off of it? No, I'm still taking it. That's the demon. That's why so many people have so many gastrointestinal problems. That's why so many people have difficulty losing weight. That's one of the explanations, because they're on proton pump inhibitors, or they were on proton pump inhibitors for a year or 2 or 6 months, and they never rebooted the microbiome so that their metabolism is good again. So you have to realize that if you're not losing weight, if the diet that you're following, as good as it is not working for you like it should, well, if you were on a proton pump inhibitor, or if you are on a proton pump inhibitor, that is the reason. And then you need to, I'm not saying to get off of it, you have to work with your doctor, but just know there are natural alternatives. You have to get to the root cause of why you have the problem. And then you have to do the necessary work of healing your microbiome from the adverse effects of the proton pump inhibitor. So then your metabolism will finally improve once again.
And I want to tell everybody, because we'll put this in the show notes too, Dr. Kellman, I know that people listening are going, but wait a minute, I'm on a proton pump inhibitor, but wait a minute, I was told I had to be on this, but wait a minute, I've been on antibiotics. And just want you to say, to realize that, first of all, grab these books and start healing. I loved what you talked about, kind of doing this reset for your microbiome, but then realize that I say it all the time. I say it on my Facebook Lives that you need to work with a functional medicine doctor. You need to work with a doctor that says what you're hearing on this podcast. So I know that you also do individual consults as well. So we'll put that in the show notes if you're interested, because if you're hearing this going, oh my gosh, like, how do I find a doctor like that? You can actually talk to them on the phone. So we will put that in the show notes as well. And I know we're getting up against it. Let's share with everybody. You have put together some recipes that are great for the microbiome. Now, you already gave us a little bit of a sense of some of these foods, but tell everyone what they're going to get with these recipes.
Yeah, the recipes are great. They're amazing. And tasting them myself. But what's great about that is it's not only going to improve your metabolism, but it's going to improve your brain. These are recipes for your brain. These are recipes to boost your cognitive function, to boost your memory, to really give a rebooting. We don't realize the great potential that we have within us. We're really not maximizing at all our brain power and our brain potential. I don't care how old you are. There's so much more, and it starts with the right foods and the right diet, and these recipes were aimed. The purpose was to improve your brain, and at the same time, it's improving your metabolism. So they're going to help you lose weight, but it's going to improve your brain as well. Right?
Bonus. Cool. So we're going to put those in the show notes too. So in the show notes, you're going to get microbiome happy and healthy recipes that are good for your weight and for your brain. You're going to get directions on how to reach out to Dr. Kellman's office. And we will also put info on both of his books. The newest book is The Whole Brain. And if you haven't got the microbiome diet yet, you'll definitely want that one too. And we'll also link to the podcast we did before on that. So we will give you loads of stuff. So you'll want to go to those show notes. We always have the best show notes too. And that is jjvirgin.com/ Dr. Kellman, Kellman. And thank you so much for being here with me today.
Great.
Super appreciate it. Love everything that you do. Now, after the break, I'll be answering the listeners' questions, so stay with me.
If you want to lose weight even faster, here's the 2-word secret: extra fiber. JJ Virgin's Extra Fiber fights hunger. It's detoxifying, and it's the secret to a healthy gut. JJ's Extra Fiber is grain-free, paleo-safe, and doesn't contain any harmful irritants or allergenic proteins, so you can happily and more safely move toward your weight loss goals. Visit jjvirgin.com/products to give your body the well-rounded consumption of fiber it needs to help balance blood sugar, support healthy digestion, and stay fuller longer. Visit jjvirgin.com/products and get your fiber.
Welcome back. This is the time where I answer listeners' questions. So I love doing Facebook and Instagram Live. And if you've not joined me on one of my lives, come on over. So I go on Instagram at jj.virgin, at Facebook Live at jjvirginofficial. What I've been doing is simulcasting them. Means I throw a phone up on one end and camera on the other, and I do both at one time and yak with everybody. And so what I like to do in this part of the show when I answer a listener's question is quite often I'll pull a question from what just happened at my most recent Facebook Live. And my most recent one, we're talking supplements, and someone asked me about probiotics. And the big question they asked is, do I need them? Now, I think from listening to Dr. Kellman today, you'd probably go, I think so. But I'm going to give you a little bit more input on all of this. I mean, obviously, the first thing you want to do to help your gut and to help your microbiome is to quit hurting it. How do you hurt it? You hurt it with stress. You hurt it with processed food. You hurt it with GMOs. You hurt it with medications, especially those PPIs and antibiotics and pain meds and antifungals, and you hurt it with gluten. You hurt it with sugar and artificial sweeteners. Artificial sweeteners can completely change your gut microbiome. It's terrible. So the first thing is stop hurting them. Love them. Treat them like your friends and family, right? And you heard that a lot today in the interview. And the next thing is feed them what they love. Now, Dr. Hillman was talking about butyrate. That's one of the things that resistant starch can do, is feed and help your bacteria make butyrate. So those are things like in cold potatoes, green bananas. And of course, we want to eat lots of fiber. So increase your fiber over time, not overnight. A couple things that can help you there are my dark chocolate coconut fiber bars, 11 grams of fiber in there. Wow. Avocados, another one. I always throw those into my shake. I use my extra fiber supplement. Berries, beans, nuts, seeds. All right. So get your fiber up, increase it over time, not overnight. Add a lot of water as you do. Super important. So you don't get stopped up and mad at me. And then, of course, rotate some fermented foods in. I think we'll put in the show notes a little shout out to my girlfriend, Summer Bach, the fermentation specialist, who's amazing. And she's got some great info on how to make your own ferments. So that's the next one. And then I take a probiotic every single day. In fact, my probiotic is called Microbiome Balance. I named that. And here's why. It's got in it bunch of probiotics, and also it's got something called bacteriophages. And bacteriophages are super interesting because they act like fertilizer for your microbiome. So they actually give your microbiome the food it needs to flourish, but also they work like nature's antibiotic to kill off the bad bacteria that you don't want around. You want the balance. So that's why I call it microbiome balance, because you get great probiotics along with the bacteriophages. And I take one every single day. Now, if I have a client who's done a round of antibiotics and there was no way to avoid that, and I think you heard from him, there's probably most of the time you can't. When my son was in the hospital with a hole in his head going to his brain, well, guess what? He was on antibiotics. And we did double probiotics for a year to bring him through that. He's still on probiotics, and we all are, because I think they just are one of those things you should be having every day. So that would be my answer. And especially look for doing a probiotic bacteriophage product. I especially love that. We'll put in the show notes information about microbiome balance. Now, thank you for being on my lives. Hope to see you all there too. And thank you to Watkins Home for the 5-star review. And the 5-star review was on, actually, this one is the one I want to do today. That one's coming next. Watkins Home. This one was from Dr. BB. Dr. BB 13. I wonder if that's Dr. BB who I know. Dr. BB 13 says, great podcast, 5 stars. The fastest way to feel better is to change what's at the end of your fork. In quotes. I said that. That's why they have it in quotes. That was one of mine. And they say, profound. I'm going to post that on my Instagram. Big smiley face. Thanks for the great podcast. All right. Thank you for that. That's why I had to quote that one, because it was so perfect for today's show. Because yes, it's true, man. Like, what's the single best way to heal? It's funny because the more we learn about genetics and nutrigenomics and epigenetics, the more we learn, like, eat whole food, seasonal, local, organic, get good sleep, have great connections, believe in something bigger than yourself. Do nice things for other people. Take time out for rest and restoration. Do something hard every day for a little exercise. Have a doggy and pet it. Smile and laugh. Drink a lot of pure spring water. You're getting the ideas. It's like it starts with changing what's at the end of your fork. All right. I'll get off my soapbox. Remind you again to get those show notes, because we got a lot of cool stuff in them today. We always do. So make sure you grab them. jjvirgin.com/Dr. Kellman. And I will see you next week. Bye-bye.
That's all for this episode of the JJ Virgin Lifestyle Show, which marks another step towards a healthier body and mind. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the show, and we'll talk to you next week.